Right. Let me try again. All right. Hello. Um, this is what I get for streaming regularly and then not streaming for 2 months at a time, is that we have very few people here, but that's okay. The people who are here, you are here, um, are the right people to be here. And also, I record these and put the recordings up onto YouTube, so folks can watch on their own time as well. So welcome. Hello to Alfredo and to Walid. Alfredo, HDZ Dev, and Walid Sassi. Welcome. Feel free to chat me up as we go. I'd love to know where in the world you are. Where are you watching from? Where are you? And I think I'm just want to dive in this time, and start doing some TDD. Yeah, good to have you. I'm just going to dive in, but I want this to be not only for me to code up this thing I want to have. Walid from Paris. Gosh. I wish I could be there. Awesome. Great to have you. I'm just going to dive in, I think, without giving a whole lot of context about what I'm doing, but I want you to feel free to interrupt, to ask questions about anything. It could be about test-driven development. It could be about agility. It could be about career growth. It could be about random anything. If I don't want to answer, I'll tell you. But honestly, let's make this interactive. That's the whole point. That's the fun of doing this. So let's see if I can go to my screen, give it a quick check. Okay, looks good. All right. Here's what I'm working on. We have a survey. The survey has entries from different people. Each entry I've assigned a different weight to, depending, that reflects the interest of that person, the self-reported interest of that person. And each entry has a set of, well, make this go away, problems, desires, and killer features that they would like. Each of these, as you can see, is an array. And what I want is to say, okay, if we have entry 1 that has a weight of 8 and it has that person says they're interested in P1 and P2. For the survey, it's actually like, what are you interested in as far as a possible video course from me? P1 and P2. Person number 2 comes along and says, and I've given them a weight of 5 according to their interest, and they're interested in P2 and P3. And the question is, if we add up the interest in P2, the weighted interest, it should be, in this case, the weight here, 8 plus 5. Now, the standard test-driven development beginner mistake is to say, okay, let's write this up as a test and let's go for it. But that's not what I did. I started to go about it to say, let's start with something very simple. Let's start with a single entry with a single problem. And if I add that, if I accumulate that entry and then say score problem P1, then I get back 8. And this I could do with hard coding, to just say the answer is 8, no matter what. And then So you see, I'm not even dealing with multiple entries in that test. And then I said, well, what if we have another entry, but it has a different weight? I want to confirm that the weight that's passed in here is what comes out here. So I gave it a different weight, and that ensured that I was actually honoring the weight. It says nothing about honoring the key there, the P1. And so that's kind of the next problem, is if I say, okay, let's reuse that same entry, but now let me ask for a problem that isn't there. I would like the score to be 0. You know, nobody wants to know about whatever it is. Score is 0. Finally, I started to get into, okay, if we have 2 entries, does it actually sum the weights? And there you see 8 plus 5. And here I did a funny little trick. Now that I look at it, the assertion is that the score is 8 plus 5, not, what is it? 13. So, right, it could have been this, and this would pass, but that's not as obvious. It's like, what is that 13? Well, the 13 is 8 plus 5. And so I really like my tests to read obviously, where something down here is clearly coming in up here, and how it's being manipulated. Okay, so that's as far as I've gotten. If we look at the actual implementation, it didn't even start with, like, I think I started scoring right away in here, which is wrong. But that's how things grow. And then eventually I needed a set to separate accumulating the entries from scoring a particular problem. Here's a hint as to what's currently hard-coded. And hard coding is the name of the game in test-driven development. You want to hard code as much as you can, and so that your tests, say, well, that's not good. It's not good that that's hard coded. Let's write a test that sort of forces you not to hard code it. Well, here is the hard coding right now, is that it loops over entries. Every entry has a set of problems, which, as you can see, is an array. And it's just grabbing the first one. That's not good. Whenever you see code where it's like, that's not good, that's not what I want, but it passes all the tests, what that means is that you need more tests. So let's make another test to move us forward. Any questions so far? Jump on in. Hit me up on the chat. Hello to the other people who have joined since I started. Welcome. Say hello in the chat and maybe where in the world you are. I'd love to know. Now, one thing I notice is that as I've built this up step by step, you can see sort of the history of the development, which is good because that's a good teaching moment. But now this test is maybe we don't need it anymore. This is an example of scaffolding or a stepping stone, where it's like the test was useful to get me started. Maybe it's not useful anymore, because now I'm clearly working with something with different weights. So honestly, I think this test I ought to remove, and same with this one. Let's just trim them down. This is part of refactoring, is just ask yourself, do I still need that test? So let me just note that in a commit. Micro commit, this is a test only change. So, hello, Nighthawk 11120. John, when you do unit testing, do you ever test a diffable data source to make sure items are being added to a table or collection view? You know, I have not done diffable stuff yet, but I don't see why I wouldn't. I don't see why I wouldn't. So that'll be something to try later. I'm gonna need another need to do some more coding on more modern tables and collection views. I've never done diffable stuff yet, but I don't see why not. Like toss in one, toss in another. I guess let me expound on that a little more. What I want to test is my code. I am not interested in testing Apple's code. And so if they guarantee that if there's a data source, a diffable data source, and it has, you know, these 4 elements, and now it has 5, and they're taking care of things for me, that the new entry, the 5th entry, will be added somewhere wherever it belongs, then I'm not going to test it unless it's something I need to do in my code. As soon as it's something in my code, then I'll test it. So that's a better answer. All right. Thank you for your question. Great to have you. Let's start. So I've got my problems array currently hard-coded with, well, they only have one problem. So I think what I'd like to do is say 2 entries with multiple problems. And say this has P1 and P2, and maybe this has P2 and P3. And what I want to do is get the score of P2. That's closer to, that's exactly this problem. This is where I wanted to go in the first place, but I built up to get there slowly. So that looks exactly like this. You see that? Now, I'll see if I can collapse these others. It's still not going to show, or make a little more room there. There you go. Entry 1, P1 and P2 with a weight of 8. So this is exactly where I wanted to go. Test-driven development. I expect this to fail. Call the shot before you take it. And it does fail. Good. Now, let's get it to pass. So what I want to do is not find the first problem, but find any matching problem inside of here. If you have any ideas, any suggestions, I welcome them, because I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to start coding, because I can always revert. And the important thing is to try to get, now I've got, in test-driven development, I did some planning, that's sort of step 0. And then I got to red, the failing test. Now I'm trying to get to green, and I want to get there as fast as I can. I want to get out of red, because once I'm in green, then I can clean things up. Refactoring is the beauty, the secret sauce of test-driven development. So let's see if I've got entry problems, and I want to find one that matches the problem we're given. So I'm going to do this horribly. I'm gonna loop in a loop in a loop. That's kind of gross. Let's say if the problem is the candidate problem, then add it up. It's gross, but I think it'll pass. It does pass. At this point, commit. And this is a tested feature of I am that Andrew. Hello from Scotland. Awesome. Finally made it to a live session instead of having to catch up on YouTube. Glad to have you. It's more fun this way. So I was able to do multiple problems. So this is score multiple problems as a feature. All right. Now, the test passes, which is really good. But this is gross. I have a for loop, and it has a for loop, and it has a conditional. Hello, Ajay from India. What can I do here? So this is where I admit that my higher level functional programming skills are not as good as yours. That's okay. I will code it out, brute force with gross code. Is it too early to transform this into a pipeline of functional transformations? Okay, so here's can I do problems contains? Let's see. Thank you for the suggestion. Because you're right, it doesn't do anything with the problem. It's taking the weight. So let's see if I can do that. If entry problems contains, look at that. And then I should be able to take this up. I'm going to comment this out in case I want to go back to it. But I predict that this has a chance of being a good refactoring and still passing. Thank you, Ajay. Clean that up. This is getting better. I'm going to say this is a refactoring. Yeah, that is much better. It's not a provable refactoring. It is a test-supported refactoring. Better. I think I can do better still, because this is an accumulation problem. So I feel like I ought to be able to take the entries and something, like loop over the entries and something. Help! What's the higher level function to say, accumulate stuff from here. I mean, I can do that. That's closer. That's closer. But I thought there was one specifically for accumulate. Reduce. Let's try it. There we go. Reduce. All right, so the initial result is 0. That's what the sum starts with. And the next partial result is going to be something that takes the result and a weighted entry and returns a result. So should be able to say if the entry problems contains the problem, then return the result plus the entry weight. Otherwise, return the result, I think. Getting a problem here. Nope. Here is the question. Will this, not quite. Something funny about this. Result should be an int. There we go. Entries, filter, 0 problem reduced. Let's filter first. Filtering first would get rid of this, the conditional inside of here. All right. That's great. So let's try this. Let me get rid of that error there. All right. So I'm going to take this step by step. You are absolutely right. And I'm going to say test supported refactoring. Use reduce. Thank you. Let's do it. So now let's say entries filter where basically I want to filter on this, right? I filter on that the problems contains the problem, and then I should be able to reduce, do the reduce thing. And get rid of the conditional. We no longer need that. This is getting beautiful. I think this will be better still. So you see what we're doing is awesome. Filter first, then reduce. I told you, you guys are smarter. You folks are smarter than I am. The return is no longer necessary. The return statement here, I'm just going to let AppCode clean that out. And I don't think I want to do $1, $0 here because it would make it harder to see that what's going on. Instead, I like result, having them named, the result and the entry weight. This is great. So now let me rerun this. Doggone. Sure like this. Filter, then reduce. So I learned a good pattern. That is clearly a pattern to use. This is great. If we compare that, let's see if I can bring up a little bit of a log here. Check this out. This is where we started and where we came. I had filtering on the inside, and I had a hand-done reduce on the outside. So we went from a for loop and a conditional to a filter with a statement of what we want, and a reduce with a statement of what we want. This is a great example of how loops are they're a code smell these days. Loops are a code smell. So if we can get rid of those, we come up with code that is more expressive. It says what we want. I love it. Now we can score problems. This is fantastic. Now, in addition to problems, I have desires and killer features. So I kind of want, here is another thing. I think I no longer need these tests. Whoop, not that. Let's expand these. I don't think I need these tests anymore. Again, they were helpful to get me to this point. But now they have served their purpose in Marie Kondo Mari style of dejunking and cleaning out stuff. We say, this no longer gives us joy. So let's thank it and delete it. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of that. And I can get rid even of the comment because it's now encoded down there. This is a test-only change. So remove more scaffolding. Wonderful. All right, let's keep going. What I would like now is to say, I want to do the same thing, except I want to score desires. So it's going to be exactly the same code as scoring the problems, except it's going to look somewhere else. So let's, in fact, I no longer need 2 entries with multiple problems. I'm looking at this test name, thinking, it's now just test multiple problems. Score problems. I can score multiple problems, something like that. I'm just want to find a way to make the test name a little better. But now I want to duplicate this and say, let's now score multiple desires. And let's see if I can just jump straight into that. So I kind of want this, except, whoop. I'm going to call them D1 and D2 instead of P1 and P2. This is going to be D2 and D3. Accumulate, accumulate, and want to score desire 2. This is test-driven development. You may be wondering, what am I doing? And what I'm doing is I am making, this is a thing where the caller, I make the caller express what I want. Let me just show you what weighted entry is. There is hardly anything in here, I say, except it has a lot. So it's a struct. It just has this inside the struct. But it has ways to build it up from a comma separated, a CSV with a bunch of columns specifying which columns are which. All right, so this looks good to me. This is test-driven development. And so here's something that one of the main reasons I love AppCode is for its refactoring support, because the refactoring works. I was shocked the other day teaching a class. I taught the same material on Tuesday, and they're using Xcode, of course. And I said, whoa, 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 try to do an extract method. And on Tuesday, it didn't work. And I'm like, haha, well, here's how it works in AppCode. On Wednesday, the Wednesday class, same material, it did work. So Xcode's automated refactoring sometimes works. Sometimes isn't good enough for me. I really want strong automated support, but here's another thing that I really want. I want the ability to say, let's make this method right here. Boom. And this is going to be desire string like that. In fact, let me just return 0. I want to, why am I returning 0 here? And the reason is that I want to see the test fail. I haven't seen that yet. All I've seen is that it doesn't compile. So I would like it to run. To do that, I need it to compile. So I want it to fail. That's good. 0 is not equal to 13, as I want. Now I'm going to be lazy. Copy. Paste. Change this to desire and change this to desires. And I think this will work. And it does. There we have multiple desires. This is a new feature. It's got less than 8 lines. So I'm going to say F score desire. Now we have duplicated code. I did a copy and a paste, and now it's like, yeah, and I know the third one's coming in. We have problems, desires, and killer features. It's going to be the exact same thing. This red here, ignore that. That's just it. AppCode. AppCode also has a few oddities. It hasn't quite caught up yet to know that that's there. But the fact that the tests are running is good enough for me. So I know that this is going to have to be parameterized. This is just a string. But this, it's like I need to get to the right thing. So let's play around with some refactoring. The goal of this refactoring is not just to reduce this duplication. It's creating what I want to make the next change even easier, which is I would like to implement the score killer feature thing. Let me clear this error here. Oh, IDE neutral. So I'm using the beta, so I just got to report a bug. That's another good reason to use AppCode, is you can just report bugs like that and they will fix them. A question from Nighthawk. What are your favorite tools to use when doing TDD? You're looking at it. This is AppCode. AppCode is superior to Xcode when it comes to refactoring and test-driven development support. What doesn't it do? Like, where would I still use Xcode? I use Xcode if I need to do any storyboards. And actually, if you use AppCode and you click on a storyboard, it says, well, fine, I can't do this. It launches Xcode for you. So you can just edit. You have 2 IDEs up. Some people freak out about this. This doesn't worry me. It's like Xcode just becomes an editor at that point. Swift UI, the preview that you get for Swift UI is better in Xcode. There is a way to do it in AppCode using the simulator, but it requires a small change to the production code to make that possible. And if I were doing Swift UI and my colleagues freaked out and said, we don't want that change, I would say, okay, oh well, I'll do my my previewing then in Xcode so I can see what's going on. Other favorite tools? Well, that's about it. One of these days I'm going to show off something that I've been working on. I did not create approval tests. However, I have been working on, with the creator, Llewellyn Falco, on a Swift version. And we're going through this. This is almost ready. Do I use Kaleidoscope? Yes, I do. Love it for, whoops. Come back. I love it for snapshot tests, because I have the snapshot basically put up the ks-diff command line, and I can just say, show me that, so I can see the differences and say, oh, you know what? It's off like a little pixel here. I don't really care about that. Approve the snapshot change, the UI change. So yeah, Kaleidoscope, awesome. Thank you for these questions. It was a lot of fun today. All right, so let's get back here and let's see if we can't make this. If I can't make it so I can parameterize what this is. This is the only difference between these two methods. And I'm not sure what to do here. I mean, I feel like I ought to be able to put in some sort of, what's it called? Key. So now I call for help again. Help! How do I say, let's see, it won't let me extract that, but I want this to be a key. Or maybe I want this to become something I evaluate. I'm not sure what to do here, folks. I want to improve the filtering by passing in a key path. Thank you, Ajay. Let me do it in pseudocode, and you can sort of help me. So it's like I want key path to be like problems, whatever it is. And I want then this to become, use the key path. I don't know how to do that. Can anyone help me? Articles filter is red. Let's give it a try. So if I say entries, filter, and I pass in problems, right? It's not, we're getting there, it's close. Because obviously this, and it's saying down here, this is where you look for errors. The key path, which is what I want, doesn't evaluate to this overall bool. So. How do I do this? Swift key path as argument. Let's go to Mr. Sundell. See what he's got. And if you have an article, let's see. So we can map. I can do a map before I do a filter. That is a possibility. Maybe that's what I need. Let's try. Entries, map, problems. So we're just going to get to the problems and then filter over whether it contains. Whoop, didn't like that. Because it doesn't know what entry is anymore. Because I've already I'm filtering too much. Like I don't want the map because I'm not just concentrating on the problems, it also has an associated weight next to it. Yeah. So I can't just say, whoop, let's only look at this one piece. I actually need the whole thing. Alas. You know what? At this point, I've spent too much time on this, and if I just want it to work, and so I actually don't mind if I have some duplication because I just want to move forward. We can always refactor later. This is going to be score killer feature K2. All right, so this doesn't exist. Let's create it. And let's copy and paste. Not what I wanted to do. Oh well. I'm jumping ahead. Let me comment this out and return 0 to make sure I have a failing test. Good. Now let's bring this back into play. I expect this to pass. Okay, so I'm left with a duplication problem. And maybe what I need to do is add like a method. I mean, there's probably some cool Swift way to do what I'm doing, but maybe the problem is that this is getting too fiddly and I need the underlying weighted entry to support me. In any case, we have made progress. Having made progress, I am checking that in. All right, so I'm almost out of time here. What do I want? I want to say filter the entries. Can we not combine everything in filter? I'm not sure. Using and. I'm not sure. But let's see. So I don't know what to do. If we were actually pairing together at this point, you would tell me exactly what to do. And I'd be like, I'm not sure what you mean. And then you would like tell me problems contains problem and desires contains desire. Except it's not. Oh, make a single thing. I'm not sure. That's changing the API. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Maybe is the answer. But I rather think that I'm going to need these 3 separate scoring functions rather than combining it all together. So let's see if there's a way I can say, if I can ask the entry. I wonder if that might help. Basically, what I'm thinking about now is moving responsibility so that it's no longer in the accumulator, but maybe there's not in the entry, but as an extension to the entry. I'm going to have to sleep on this. And I want to honor your time that I promised to keep these pretty short. 1 hour bite-size sessions where we sit together. I hope this has been helpful. Certainly this has been useful for me. I really loved the input. I'm going to switch over here back to me. So I thank you so much for being part of this and for your help. It's kind of pair programming. It's not really, because I was making the decisions as the driver what to do. But, this is the best we can do on Twitch. What we can do better off of Twitch would be to actually have a session where we code together and do some ensemble programming. You may know that by mob programming. First time I've been part of a TDD session. Really liked it. Yay! Yeah, it is fun. One of the things about test-driven development is it's addictive because what you saw, what I did was I set up a little problem and then I solved it. And that gives me a little jolt of pleasure. Haha. And then it's like, okay, yeah, but the code it works, but the code's not great. Can we refactor it? And we did that in steps. We first to get the reduce in there, and then but the reduce still had the conditional inside, and so it was like, oh, we can pull that out with a filter. And every step, I was not in a state of being unable to ship for very long. My broken time, we could go back and check it out, is mostly just minutes. Looks like I need to start testing my code. Well, I have a book for you. There it is. Right there. Go check this out. It doesn't get into test-driven development until the very last chapter, because for TDD, you need to build up a series of skills. One is recognizing code smells. That's something people are pretty good at, but there are lots of code smells people put up with. The second is to learn how to refactor, which we've been doing, and I mean moving in small steps. Namaste. And then you want to be able to learn how to write good micro tests. And then if we can put all the pieces together and say, okay, if we've been writing tests, if we know how to write tests, can we write them first? And that brings us into test-driven development. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? This has been a really, really good session today. I'm sorry I haven't done more of these, more regularly, like weekly. Life has been not crazy. I've just been, I think what it is that this kind of teaching used to be stuff I would do on the side. And it would give me energy. I'd be like, yeah, finally I can do some teaching. Now I'm a full-time coach. Full-time coach and trainer. So it's what I do. So I've actually been playing a lot of video games lately. So also Saturdays have been busy. Anyway, peace out. I do enjoy this a lot, and next Saturday, we'll see. Depends what I got going that Saturday. If I'm running off to a social engagement. Other than this book, do I teach groups and individuals? Yes, I do. I have, yep, I do indeed. If you follow me on Twitter, so right now I'm actually in the middle of teaching a brand new workshop, but it's a private workshop to a company that's engaged me through the company that I work for, Industrial Logic. And so being the first time through, it's a little shaky. I've discovered that I have like over 2 times the material that we can do in the allotted time. So I'm learning about the timing, what works, what doesn't. My students are helping me a lot. As we work through the material and then come to the conclusion of the workshop, my hope is that I'd be able to turn this into then have a public offering, sort of an open enrollment thing, so that people can join from wherever they are. And so look for that in the days to come. If you want to be informed of that, follow me on Twitter, or if you are not already subscribed to my blog, qualitycoding.org, go there. And lately my posting there has been low for the same reasons, but that way you'll be sure to get an email of any new blog posts and any new training opportunities that come from me. So go to qualitycoding.org and you can land on my mailing list. And I have some shortcuts, code snippets for you. If you go there and you join, I'll send you the code snippets I use that help me especially when it comes to UIKit testing. All right. Thank you so much. Peace and namaste and salam and what else am I missing? Shalom. This has been good. Take care.